welcome back. You're watching the Urban Debate. I know that there is a lot of talk right now about Sabrimala across the country, but that's not our focus this evening. We've received three pieces of information that cause us a certain amount of worry right now, and I want to be able to share this information with you. The information is economic. Firstly, the Center for Monitoring the Indian Economy has released a report on investments into big industrial projects in India. Now, it paints a very grim picture. The report says that investments have fallen to a 14-year low, with a decline in fresh investments across all major sectors. The report blames red tape of the government and a non-conducive economic climate for the slump in investments. The data also shows that the private sector projects are stalling at a rate that's nearly a record high of stalling at 24%. Now, this is not good news for our economy at the start of a new year. Now, other than that, you would have read in the last 2 days that the RBI has offered small and medium enterprises what is being called at this point a pre-election laddo. About 10,000 crore rupees worth of defaulted loans will get a one-time restructure, which means either the tenure or the interest rate of the loan will be adjusted to allow for easier repayment. Now, experts we've spoken to tell us that the RBI shouldn't be faulted because the small and medium sector is in desperate need for relief. And this move by the RBI will help a lot of very stressed companies perhaps survive this very difficult period. This means that our small and medium enterprises are in such dire straits at this point that the RBI is willing to put more pressure on the already pressurized banking system to save these businesses. Now, add this to the distress in the agriculture sector and the farmers. And what does this mean for our economy? If investments are slumping, if small and medium businesses are extremely stressed, and the farmers are in crisis, the question I'm asking tonight is this: is the Indian economy in trouble? Joining me on the show, Santosh Mehrotra, senior economist, Gopal Agarwal, spokesperson for the BJP, Sanjay Jha for the Congress, L. Mansingh, former Secretary Consumer Affairs and Chairperson of the Consumer Online Foundation, Yogendra Yadav, President of Swaraj India, will join us through the course of this conversation. K.E. Raghunathan is the President of the All India Manufacturers Organization. I welcome all of you to this conversation and I thank you for your time. Professor Santosh Mehrotra, I will start with you. The report that we're referring to, the CMIE report, basically tells us, if I'm not mistaken, in very simple English for our audience, there are projects that were announced, have stopped midway and are stalled, and we are not announcing any new projects. Does this mean our economy is in trouble, Professor Mehrotra?
I'm afraid so. The economy has been in trouble for a while, and honestly, I'm scrolling my laptop to the overall stall projects actually have not, in trillions of rupees, the overall implementation stalled has never fallen below 11 trillion rupees, which means 11 lakh crores, since December 16. So in other words, just as the demonetization happened, between then and now, so as it is, it was a big blow, the demonetization. Then came GST. We all know that. But the point is that the government seems to not have been able to deliver on the stalled projects. And every 3 months, the CMI is reporting this, and I'm looking at this data, and it just shows that the situation is grim beyond belief. And I had already written in a piece in the Hindu a few weeks ago, when this whole controversy around the GDP series came up, that you see this government inherited an investment to GDP ratio rate of 31%, 31.4 in fact to be precise. Every year since then it has tended to fall. It is now in the it is around 26% of GDP, 31.4 compared to 10 years ago when it was 38% of GDP, and now 26. So, I mean, what the CMI report is saying is something that is confirmed from every angle and every source of data. And the tragedy is that both the public and the private investments are not taking off.
Professor Mehrotra, let me ask you this question. We know that the economy is in trouble across the globe at this point. Europe has slowed down to almost no action. The economy is slow all over the world. So is this really global factors? And is it fair to entirely blame it on Indian factors?
No. I disagree with you quite strongly, in fact. I mean, please remember that when oil prices fell for everyone. The US economy has been growing at 3% per annum for several years now. It had begun in the Obama period. It has continued under Trump. And unemployment rates in the US economy are among the lowest in a very long time. The Eurozone was not doing so well till 2 years ago. The Eurozone economy has also picked up. So it is simply untrue to say that these are international factors at play. Not at all. These are all factors which are intrinsic to the issues in our own economy.
All right. K.E. Raghunathan, I'm sure there was a sigh of relief among the manufacturers' organization when the RBI decided to restructure loans for your sector. But we're being told by a lot of experts it's because the sector was on its last breath. Is that true?
Good evening, Faye.
Good evening.
It's true that MSME is a major catalyst for the economy of a country. But today, MSME is in real trouble. Let me analyze. An entrepreneur like me, we look for three things in our life when we start an industry. One is the inner happiness that comes from giving more jobs, more emoluments to the people who contribute to us. Second is external pleasures, which is wealth, style of living, acquisition of money power, profitability. The third is pride, which comes from quality, innovation, global marketing. All the three are shattered. We are really worried. In fact, we have gone on record requesting our Honorable Prime Minister, instead of ease of doing business, please come out with ease of closing business. Closing even has become tough today. It is no more easy to run an enterprise. We are very, very unhappy. Now take this RBI loan or take the first initiative of 59-minute loan. I am an entrepreneur. I have applied for the loan and I got the sanction from Punjab National Bank almost 15 days back. Till today, nobody from Punjab National Bank has approached me. I have been trying to talk to the Punjab National Bank. Nobody responds. My document still lies on my table for a 19 lakhs loan. My own experience. Take the next case, this RBI announcement. From yesterday, we have been asking across all the bankers and the people knowledgeable. They say, the RBI says, MSMEs less than 25 crore who are defaulters but called standard accounts. Nobody knows the explanation of what is this standard account which is defaulted. I don't know. When I go ask the government for a stomachache, they give me a pill for a headache. A stitch in time would have saved 9. We are very happy, at least our Honorable Prime Minister was honest yesterday in accepting that traders have been penalized due to GST. We are happy. At least you are recognizing somewhere the trouble has begun. Please consider us when you make a policy. Don't announce a policy and then review the policy. We seem to be serving half-baked solutions. Let us serve fully boiled foods. This is our take. We will go on as we discuss in the panel.
Mr. Gopal Agarwal, spokesperson of the BJP, two opening statements here, one from Santosh Mehrotra and one from K.E. Raghunathan. One pertaining to large investments in industry and the second to the SME sector. What is your response to them?
I tell you that there are some issues which we have to look into the legacy issue. When you talk of a fast growth earlier, You see how those growth or investment were fueled. It was a bank loan, public money, which was being liberally given to corporate houses. And between 2006 to 2012, the outstanding loan increased from 18 lakhs to 52 lakh crores. So 18 lakh crore to 52 lakh crore in 6 years' time. So that was the way investment was being fueled. This was the public money being given to the private corporate houses, and that is the cause of NPA that has come out. Second important point I would like to mention is that under the Pragati scheme, the Prime Minister himself is looking after every stalled project. What we had earlier was a policy paralysis. There was no decision. After that, we had an accumulated stalled project of several lakh crores. Under the Pragati scheme, 18 meetings have already been held where Prime Minister himself look into restarting the restarting the stalled project, and around 9 lakh crore project which were just stalled have been restarted under the Ministry of Infrastructure Development, Road Transport. Nitin Gadkari ji has started so many projects for highway construction, waterways. All these were just stalled, and we now see a 27-kilometer road construction per day highway, which was only 11 kilometers per day. Then rural sector, rural road construction is 131 kilometers per day, which was around 70 or 80 kilometers per day. So how can you say that this is not, there is still, definitely there will be problems, isolated cases, some loan may not have been given by some bank, etc. That's an individual problem. We don't deny that, but it is not a government problem.
Okay.
Government in itself.
So let me just point out a couple of things, Mr. Agarwal. Let me just point out a couple of things in reaction to what you said, if I may.
No, PSB, you should just last 10 seconds more. No, Faye, last 10 seconds more. Under PSB 59, government has announced 12 important initiatives, which is from loan subversion, market accessibility through GM, treats, this working capital solutions through platform, bill discounting platforms. I can go on and tell you so many initiatives. It's a 360-degree solution for MSME sector.
Yes. Okay. All right, Mr. Agarwal. All right, Mr. Agarwal. Let me just offer you a rebuttal, please.
There is a work in progress, and I tell you.
Yes, 10 seconds. Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Agarwal, I'll come back to you. You'll want to respond to the points that I'm going to make now. So allow me to make them. Allow me to make these points. You did say.
Just one more thing. Nikkei Manufacturing Purchase Managers Index says that the economy has ended in a robust in 2018. There you have to look into inflation side also. If GDP growth, compare it with the inflation, it is 2.33, which was in double digit. So that factor has to be incorporated into the investment cycle. Whatever you invest, GDP growth, all these have to incorporate what is in relation to what was the inflation.
So all right, Mr. Agarwal, allow me to count. Allow me to go over the points one by one, please. You have to allow the rest of us to speak. Okay. You said these were legacy issues and loans were liberally given, which is how the growth happened earlier. I want to point out to you that most businessmen will confirm that business happens because of loans. They take loans from banks, they manufacture what they need to manufacture, they pay the bank off, and whatever is left is their margin. That's how businesses run. And the government today, along with the finance minister and the RBI governor, are working very hard to make sure that loans continue to be accessible for businessmen. But let me point out to you, a parliamentary panel has just submitted its report on the banking sector, where it says that it has several concerns on the banking sector today. There's a concern in the number of loan write-offs that are 37% higher year on year from last year to the year before that. It says the RBI and the central government must work better together to form coherent policies. It says bad loan provisioning is eating into the profits of banks right now, and deposits have been dropping. Also, one second. You said policy paralysis is a problem, and I completely agree with you. But the charts that we're looking at right now show that the movement of economy and investment was very high in 2014 and 15, and it fell drastically in 16 and 17. Now, that would technically not indicate a policy paralysis that you inherited. That would indicate that demonetization and GST have hurt these two
That was a
indicators.
debt-fueled growth.
Yes. Go ahead, Mr. Agarwal.
That was a public money given to private corporate houses and
Faye, can I
which
come in
fueled
here?
the debt, increased the debt outstanding and fueled investment.
But isn't that what public money is supposed
have
to
to
do,
see
Mr. Agarwal? It is
how
supposed
that-
to lend to economy and long-term projects. Also,
No, but you
the
have
CMI
to give a
report,
quality loans. You don't create substandard assets.
okay, the CMI report says very
No, I
clearly
tell you,
that
this
most
Nikkei
government
Manufacturing
investment
Purchase
proposals,
Managers Index.
most government
No,
investment.
but I'm also quoting you with a report which says that No, I tell you, the manufacturing PMI sector ended 2018 on a high with growth stronger than seen at the start of the year. This is Nikkei Manufacturing Purchase Managers Index. This has also come yesterday. So, and I told you, you compare them with the inflation figures. Inflation was 10%. Even if you do nothing in an inflation of 10%, your investment will automatically gross GDP will increase. So you have now it is inflation is 2.33. So that also has to be incorporated.
Mr. Gopal Agarwal, you have you were talking about the Nikkei Manufacturing Index. I'm looking at it on my computer right now. Before I bring in my other panelists, forgive me for stalling. You're looking at actually just the one-year data, and you're right. December ended stronger than December 2018 ended stronger than the year began. But look at it over 5 years, Mr. Agarwal. You will see that the reason why it was weak is because it fell very drastically in 2017 and 16, and that's why it has been climbing up since then. But if you compare it to before that, back in 2014, it was higher than where it is right now. So it would be unfair to just look at the one-year data. You look at the 5 years data, and it would give us a clearer look. Now, let me bring in the rest of the panelists at this point. We also have Sanjay Jha of the Congress. Sanjay, go ahead, please. And Sanjay Jha, if you would just respond to what Gopal Agarwal
Faye,
was saying.
I think,
forgive me, one second. Gopal Agarwal made a point. He said the BJP inherited a legacy problem of policy paralysis, and they remedied that problem. Respond to that, please.
Well, one thing, Faye, if after 5 years the BJP is still crying like a little baby, that it's all a legacy problem, it's a public admission that they have been a monumental failure. The truth of the matter is that they inherited a GDP which was growing at 6.4%. This is government official data. The truth also is that in 2014, the bank NPAs on which he's again been crying
Mr.
horse
Sanjay?
was 2.04 lakh crores. It is now, just 1 minute, sir, I didn't interrupt you. I'm coming on this channel for a long time and it is known for a civilized discussion. So I think we should just keep it very mature and civil. Faye, the point is the NPA was 2.04 lakh crores. It's now crossed 10 lakh crores. For this government and Mr. Modi to go on and on about legacy problems, I mean, they will blame Pandit Nehru, they will blame Mahatma Gandhi. I mean, it's becoming rather absurd and atrocious. I don't want to even comment on it. But the larger was trying to make the point, inflation. Faye, I think this is a point that we need to definitely challenge. You see, a low inflation is not always a healthy sign for an economy if it is backed by very low demand. One of the reasons why today, when global oil prices have fallen down, the world is not getting buoyant or celebrating on the streets is because it sees a global economic slowdown. Normally, in a booming world economy, it would lead to higher oil consumption, and a higher oil price need not be so disconcerting. The issue here is that this government has overpromised and under-delivered. And I'll tell you, it's very straightforward. You look at the CMI data today, and I've also been a banker, so I can tell you this with extreme confidence. CMI is not a Congress-sponsored organization, neither is it a government-backed entity. It's an independent research body. And it tells you that new investments are at a 14-year low. This is not 1, 2, 3 years. It's showing you a progressive declining trend. Now, if Mr. Agarwal and the BJP want to believe this is a legacy problem, then they are living in denial at the end of 5 years, which frankly is a joke. The second point, look at the stalled projects. Now, the truth of the matter, Faye, is that at the end of the day, if you believe that you needed to improve the NPA issue, or you wanted to help the MSME sector, you have a gentleman from the MSME sector on your panel. I heard him. He was eloquent and to the point. You can't wake up at the end of 4.5 years, tell Urjit Patel, I want you to open a window to help MSE companies up to a loan of 25 crores. Otherwise, please move out of RBI because you're challenging the government. Who asked you to do demonetization? Who asked you to follow voodoo economics? Who asked you to do a terrible implementation of GST? Faye, look at two data today that one should not ignore. Your fiscal deficit is at 115%, and your GST collections are falling short. So you're already headed for an economic turmoil. And for the government of this day to claim we were the fastest growing economy, well, let me tell you, we were the second fastest growing economy during the UPA, but we grew at a faster rate. China came down. It's like Andhi Nagri mein Kanha Raja. You can't be going on and on about saying fastest growing world economy when the truth is you have messed up domestically. Well, the simple answer is rather political. If the government was focused on headline management and cow vigilantism, economy will get hurt.
No, Sanjay Jha, let's stay on point. Let's stay on point. Allow Gopal Agarwal to respond to you before I bring in Mr. Mansingh. Gopal Agarwal, do you want to respond to Sanjay Jha?
The issue is not only the fastest growing economy in the world, it is the fastest top 10 highest reforming economies in the world. We are for the second consecutive year in the top 10 highest reforming economies in the world. And when you say of ease of doing business, how we have jumped from 142 to 77 without implementing on the ground level? These are,
because you
if you are talking of CMI data and forgetting about World Bank data,
it is there.
Ignoring it completely. I tell you another Nikkei Manufacturing Index, output continued to rise strongly in line with a robust upswing in sales. Companies benefited from rising international demand for Indian goods. And you see, when the global market and global economy is slowing down, still in comparison to that, we are moving fast. So you are ignoring global economic slowdown. You are ignoring ease of doing business index. You are ignoring the fastest reforming top 10 economies in the world.
Can I give him a quick response, Faye, if you don't mind?
Ignoring the inflation, fall in the inflation rate, and you are not taking into account the solution of the NPA problem, which was created by earlier government. We are solution. We are not saying only legacy problem, we will not do anything. We are on the both count, whether it is stall project or NPA. We have come out with a solution, and today is the second year of IBC and NCLT. See, 1,25,000 crores of bad loans have been recovered.
Allow me to bring in Mr. Mansingh. Mr. Agarwal, allow me to bring in Mr. Mansingh. Mr. L. Mansingh, former Secretary of Consumer Affairs. Mr. Mansingh, I have a favor to request of you. I have a viewer who has just written in saying, can you put this in simple terms so someone without an economic background can understand what is going on? Is it fair, Mr. Mansingh, to say that businesses are now having trouble paying back their loans? And that in general, if we consider farmers are having trouble paying back their loans, businesses small are having trouble paying back their loans, and large businesses are not getting as much investment as they used to start projects in the power sector, to start projects in the infrastructure sector. Is that fair to say, Mr. Mansingh, that our economy has slowed down or might be in a little bit of trouble?
No, the micro figures of the growth of the GDP growth figures are continued to be healthy. So I don't think that there is any reason why we should jump to the conclusion that the economy is slowing down. Yes, there are problems relating to particular sectors, and banking sector that when you try to recover the bad loans, etc., and tighten the loan delivery system, then it can affect particularly the MSME sector, and that seems to have happened. Finally, the Reserve Bank of India has announced a plan, but what I heard from our MSME entrepreneur here on the panel, is that there appear to be problems of delivery. That should be tackled and tackled very quickly. What I would like to emphasize is that indulging in the blame game and going into
you can't do
baggage, historical baggage, etc., is not going to help. The right initiatives have been taken. The ease of doing business, we have improved, significantly our position in the world economies. But we are somewhere in the middle level. We have to, continue that process. And I would like to both the political parties who are represented here, that action also is in the states. So now it is not that only one party is dominating all the states and the other party is not there. It is responsibility of both the parties to ensure that in their respective states, you ensure the ease of business, which incidentally includes the ease of closing your business. Without that, you can't say that you have improved the situation. And go ahead with facilitating investments. Investments is, if it is slowed down, it is a matter of concern, because investment today will fructify after 3 years or 3.5 years. So we should take it seriously and ensure that the credit flow resumes and resumes fast.
Okay, fair enough. Mr. Raghunathan, do you want to respond to that?
Faye, the biggest problem today seems to be to run a business, taking a loan is looked at as a crime. All the defaulters are looked at as a willful defaulter. I think this is unfair. Most of the entrepreneurs struggle, and you don't call them willful defaulter, call them defaulter. But the problem is, we are not finding a solution to them. We want to recover the money, but we should recover by making them progress, not by binding them.
But Mr. Raghunathan, that is those are regulations of the RBI.
Saying that we have recovered.
Technically nothing to do with the current government. This is not the fault of the current government. It would be unfair to say that this categorization is the fault of the current government.
No, you are wrong. No, sorry, you are wrong. 4 years back, if I was having only cough and cold, if 2 years back after demonetization, if I have had a serious illness, I look for the solution.
Go on. Mr. Raghunathan, go.
From AAMO, I'm telling you, 10 days back, we came out with the survey of the job loss by doing extensive survey. Till today, we have not been asked even by one single government official or the ministers or the concerned ministries the basics of the report or the details of the report or what is the solution from AMO. That is the status of affairs. We are crying, but we don't have anybody to lend their ears to us. So we stopped crying. Today was the first day in your show where a panelist stopped talking within his time, because I want to listen to solution. I am exhausted by talking. I am representing a manufacturing community in the country. I am not against the government.
Right.
I work with the government.
Right.
I want happiness. I want people to be happy.
That's a very fair point.
Consider me as a constructive criticism person. Don't consider me as your enemy.
Can
Please
I come in,
hear
sir?
us out. If there is a merit in our statement, consider it. Please,
Yes,
that's
but
all
I
we
want to
want
bring
to
in
say.
Santosh
This
Mehrotra here, if I
RBI
may.
regulation of
Yes.
extending 3 months NPA to 6 months was suggested by us in 2017 January. If only they had done that time, we would have not have allowed many people become NPA. What is the point in doing at this moment after nearly 2 years of the problems? We have accumulated the cancer and now we want to uproot the finger. That is not fair.
Okay, let me bring in Professor Santosh Mehrotra. Professor Mehrotra, a very interesting point being raised by Mr. Mansingh. He said, just because some sectors are in distress, you cannot write off the entire economy. Look at the larger indicators. The GDP numbers are still healthy. The inflation number that Gopal Agarwal pointed out is still healthy. There are a lot of very positive indicators. We're getting positive reviews from the rest of the world still. So why write off the entire economy and jump the gun? Professor Mehrotra.
First of all, this argument about our being the fastest growing large economy in the world. The fact of the matter is that we are also a country which has the largest number of poor in the world. And therefore, it is absolutely critical that for at least 20 years, we have to grow very fast. China managed to reduce poverty, almost wipe it out, over a 30-year period because it grew at 9 to 10% per annum. We have no choice but to grow fast. So let us not be too self-congratulatory and keep in telling us that we are the fastest growing large economy. We have been the second fastest growing large economy for at least 12 years. And it's now because China has reduced its growth rate that we are the fastest growing. Point one. Point two.
Correct.
Inflation.
Correct.
The inflation rate has come down in the last 4 years because the oil prices fell dramatically. Oil is a very important input, not just into products, but into transportation, into everything. Oil prices fell dramatically. And that was a very important reason. Now, the point is also that prices are not rising because jobs are not growing and wages are not growing. Therefore, consumer demand is tepid. So if consumer demand is tepid, prices are not going to rise. Prices earlier were rising before 2014, partly because of international oil prices being at $140 a barrel, and secondly, because wages were growing, jobs were growing, and therefore consumer demand was growing and poverty was declining. We need to keep these facts in mind. The third point I want to make is the following. That, yes, of course, there was a legacy problem as far as the NPAs is concerned. But the government has finally gotten its act together. But this is the point. I underline the word finally, coming rather late in the day. I mean, in the first year of this government, loans were still growing. They were not willing to recognize the size of the NPAs. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in a situation where they inherited 2 lakh crores and we are at 10 lakh crores worth of NPAs. So the remedies began much too late in the day, and that is what, and the government didn't help itself by shooting itself in the foot with the demonetization, by shooting itself in the foot by implementation of a flawed GST. So the economy didn't grow as fast as it could have. So in fact, private investment has not grown, domestic private investment. And while FDI, foreign direct investment, had in fact increased in the first 2 years of this government, it has gone back down. Please try and understand, exports are actually below what they were in 2013-14 in dollar value terms. I mean, we have to take the bull. If we don't recognize the problem, don't even recognize that there is a jobs crisis in the country, young people have gotten better educated, more are entering the labor force. If you're not even willing to recognize there is a problem, I mean, I was stunned then how will you solve it? I was stunned to see, just now looking at the CMI data on the stalled projects. I hadn't quite realized that despite all the efforts, no one is denying that the government has made efforts to de-stall stalled projects. But the value of the stalled projects were 11 plus trillion rupees, meaning 11 lakh crores in late 2016.
Yes.
They are still at that same level and they haven't dipped at all for even a year or a month over this 3-year period, sir.
All right, so 1 second. I just want to introduce one more guest. Yogendra Yadav, President of Swaraj India, joins us right now. Mr. Yadav, good evening. Thank you for joining us. Happy New Year to you. I just want to start off by asking you this. We've placed before the panel 3 pieces of information. The CMI report that says projects are stalled, investment is at a 14-year low. The fact that the RBI is having to give a sort of steroid injection to the MSME sector to make sure that it doesn't completely flatline. And the farmers and the farm sector also facing a similar problem. Are these things related in your opinion, Mr. Yadav?
What we have witnessed is overall de-acceleration of the economy. There is no question of writing off the entire economy, certainly. But I agree with almost everything that Professor Santosh Mehrotra said just before me. Look, there are two ways of looking at the economy. You can look at economy from outside. If you were an investor sitting in the US, if you were an investor sitting in Mumbai, how would you look at Indian economy? The other way is to look at it from the point of view of the recipient, of the consumer, of the producer, of the unemployed youth. Now, Professor Mehrotra has given us a lot of information about the economy, and I don't need to supplement what he has already said. Let us look at the economy from the point of view of an ordinary person. You would say inflation rate is down. Speak to anyone on the street, they would tell you, "Bahut mehengai hai." What are they saying? Don't they understand the inflation rate is low? No. The problem is they don't have purchasing power. They don't have purchasing power because the wages are down, because incomes are down. That's why they feel more insecure. So an economist would say inflation rate is low. An ordinary person would say bahut mehengai hai, jhel nahi pa raha hu main isko. Both of them are right. But in this instance, what really matters is what the person on the street feels. In the case of farmers, you are absolutely right to point out, and you have kept a vigil on this consistently. The fact is, now the Rabi season is over, Rabi marketing is over. Just before the beginning of the season, this government had announced a grand scheme, if you remember, Asha, PM Asha scheme was supposed to deliver prices to the farmers. Finally, something which had never happened in the history of this country. And what have we seen? No different from any season, except one or two crops. In not a single other crop have the farmers got the minimum price determined by the government. In the case of unemployment, go anywhere. Look at the report that came a month ago. Look at other reports that are coming. We are not speaking merely of jobless growth. UPA government was jobless growth. Now we are speaking of job loss growth. This is what is hurting. So what this government has achieved in the last 4.5 years is insecurity for every sector of Indian population, for the farmers, for an ordinary consumer, for a small businessman, for an unemployed youth. It's insecurity all over. And when you look at decisions like demonetization, and the fact that this government did not consult even a single respectable economist before taking the decision, you begin to wonder, can this government, can this regime be trusted with an economy which is as large, as dynamic, and as potential-full as India? So I honestly can't trust this government on taking sensible economic decisions.
Well, I'm going to give Gopal Agarwal an opportunity to respond to that. Gopal Agarwal, do you want to respond to what both Professor Mehrotra has said and Mr. Yadav has said?
Faye, I would like to come in here, please.
Yes, Mr. Jha, immediately after.
No, I think they are just, when they are talking some of the problems which we don't completely deny. But the issue is that what the government has done in 4.5 years to revive the economy and remove the problems in the economy, demonetization and GST, etc. These are part of the reform process. They were part of curbing corruption. There are, if you have to solve only one side of problem, you may say ki only look into that. But if you have to look into the all aspects of the problem, you need to see how that delivery mechanism, there was corruption. Government, whatever government schemes were going to the people, there was leakages. We have to curb them. Money has to flow through the banking channel. Bank account had to be opened. All the benefits, government-based schemes, benefit had to flow through direct benefit transfers. Then there was problem in the leakage of tax collection, indirect tax. Every person was paying to the businessman or to the traders, but because there was gaps in the tax collection system, it was not going to the government coffers. GST was implemented. So you have to see in the time frame of 4.5 years what government has been able to achieve And we don't say that everything is completed, everything now, Indian economy is the world largest economy, there is no problem in the economy, farmers are not having any problem. So these problems, when we talk of legacy issue, we say that we inherited so many problems. We
No,
are
okay, so
working
Mr.
on those
Agarwal, let me
problems.
ask you this
4.5
question. Let me
years is not
rephrase the question, Mr.
full
Agarwal.
time frame.
Let me rephrase the question. Is the government willing to accept now that in the sectors of SME and farmers, maybe power and infrastructure as well, but let's focus on MSMEs and farmers, in these two sectors, that demonetization and GST played a role of slowing these sectors down and causing pain to small businessmen, workers and farmers in the country? Are we willing to accept that we caused a problem and then start fixing that problem?
No, the first I agree with you that the first foremost important thing to solve a problem is to recognize and acknowledge the problem. Demonetization in a short term created shortage of liquidity for 2 to 3 months where there was problem, but once the liquidity started, liquidity was restored, then this problem of cash or liquidity should not be there. Anybody can tell you there is no problem of liquidity after March 2017. So this 2-3 months, somebody may say I had problem with the liquidity, but you have to understand what that thing demonetization was achieved in other way. It helped into the business transactions moving to the banking channels. It was a precursor required for GST to be successfully implemented. And when you are talking of implementation of GST, in 1 year, we have been able to come to such a good level of implementation of GST.
But GST
which
collections
Australia
have
took
fallen,
more
Mr.
than
Agarwal.
6 years. It's a much smaller population. So,
Mr. Agarwal, GST collection has dropped
game changer. It
in
is
November.
Creating ease
But,
of
okay,
doing business.
so let me bring in some more voices very quickly
No.
before I wrap up. Mr. Man Singh, do you agree with Mr. Agarwal that demonetization was only a matter of 1 or 2 months, and post that everything came back to normal? Because all the data now, if we look at it on a 5-year chart, Mr. Man Singh, shows that demonetization actually caused a hiccup, and we've been recovering since then.
No. How are we helping in bringing about a boost to the growth, particularly in the MSME sector, by harping on what happened 2 years back or 3 years back, or whether it was some decision was taken by this government as against some decision taken by the earlier government? We have to now look forward. The growth indicators, the macro growth indicators, as I mentioned, they're still healthy, and let's build on that. Now, for the MSME sector, the right course would be that a scheme has been announced of restructuring of the past loans where units have not been able to pay. So the banking sector should be geared up to tackle them on a top priority basis.
Okay.
And secondly, as far as the farm sector is concerned, we should.
Okay, all right.
As far as the farm sector is concerned, the farmer must, there are serious issues. It is not merely announcing a, minimum support price, etc. We know the state of, the farmer is not getting the terms of trade for the farmers in this country, unfortunately.
Okay, Mr. Man Singh, I just want closing statements from the rest of my panel, if I may. It's a fair point.
How does the farmer get a good price for his product?
Mr. Yadav, it's fair to say let's forget about what happened 2 years ago and look forward. Let's no longer harp about what happened 2 years ago. If it was actually behind us, do you believe it's behind us, Mr. Yadav?
I find it funny, but I actually completely agree. Let's forget what happened in the last 4.5 years. Let's get rid of those who created all that hassle in the last 4.5 years. India should look forward, hopefully with a new government. That's how I would put it. But Faye, now that we are on the show, Can you please get me answer to this one or two questions from this BJP spokesperson, someone else, someone you meet in the press conference? They say that they are going to increase double farmers' income in 6 years. Their goal, not my goal. 3 years have passed. How much has the farmers' income increased? Just get me statistics. Number two, they said 3 years ago in September, 3 months ago, that new PM Asha scheme will deliver real prices, MSP, to every single farmer of this country. Please get me statistics on what is the average price in mandis for all the major crops. Has any market observed what they promised? And number three, Fasal Bima Yojana, what is the profit private companies have made and what is the profit public sector companies have made, and why is it that there is a difference between the two when it comes to Fasal Bima Yojana? Get me ordinary answer to these questions.
Mr. Agarwal, do you want to hazard an answer to those questions?
I would like to say, is that the farmers' distress and problem, we are not denying that. What we are working is that the MSP has already been increased. It was in 2006 that MS Swaminathan came out with a report, and it was our government which has implemented 1.5 times
so that's not,
the cost.
To be fair, Mr. Agarwal, that's not a clear answer to the question that Yogendra Yadav asked. But okay, so I just want to give that, if you're not answering that question, I just want to give the last 30 seconds to Mr. Raghunathan. K. Raghunathan, the point that demonetization was 2 or 3 months worth of pain, and we should not harp on what happened in the past. I want to understand from you if it's fair, if you think it's fair to actually pin the blame on these two government decisions, demonetization and GST, or do you think there are more factors and perhaps more solutions that we should be looking at?
I think, Faye, there cannot be a better person than an entrepreneur with a positive mindset. I even today feel that there is a hope at the end of the tunnel. But the problem is the government must consult experts like what we heard from Mr. Yogendra Yadav and people on the ground. No policy is today coming out without any consultation. Everything is announced one-sided. Even the latest last week policy on e-commerce, you saw most of the foreign big large-scale players were crying the negativisms of the e-commerce policy, how it will impact the common man. Everything is announced and then reviewed and then modified and then changed. The goalpost gets changed every day. An entrepreneur is dying. You talked about the demonetization and the GST has given pains. It has not given pains. It has put us into ICU. I have given you last week itself a greatest study in this country on the job loss in TSME. It is not painful? Today, I have people applying from what they were drawing salary 100 rupees last year, they are willing to work at 60 rupees this year because there is no job for them. People are crying. Come to the road and see. People are crying. Please realize. Please talk to us. Please take us into confidence. It is not good to continue like this.
Mr. Raghunathan, very quickly,
please help us.
What do you need? You keep saying that the government should consult. Yogendra Yadav also says the government should actually work with the farmers and consult with the farmers. Gopal Agarwal is listening. What does the SME sector need?
See, the SME sector needs, we have been saying right from the beginning, as far as the finance is the biggest crux for the SMEs now. What is the problem? Sourcing the finance and repaying the loan what is already taken. The restructuring must be without any conditionalities. Every industry which has got a problem must be analyzed. It is not easy to simply close the companies. We should have taken into confidence there are CAA, there are AMO, there are FICCI, there are ASOCHAM, there are Laghu Udyog Bharat, there are so many trade bodies, expertise is available. Why can't we constitute a committee and go into each and every sector and come out with a vision statement, short-term vision statement?
Okay. I
Forget the
understand what
long
you're saying.
term.
Yogendra
How
Yadav, is this
2022
the
will
same?
be, how 2030 will be, how 2050
Faye,
will be,
Faye,
is forget
10
it.
seconds.
Yes, just 1 second. Yogendra Yadav, it sort of sounds like an SME version of Karz Mukti as opposed to Karz Maafi, which is what we talked about when it came to farmers, that you get into the problem, you find out that there are different farmers with different needs, and every state, every type of farmer, every crop is going to need a different solution. Someone needs to actually roll up their sleeves and do that legwork. So do you believe that perhaps both of these sectors need similar kind of dedication at this point?
Absolutely. Manufacturing is as critical to this economy as agriculture is. I would certainly not say pay attention only to farmers and not to our industry. Our manufacturing has enormous potential, and it has enormous potential not only for growth but also for providing employment in this country. And they have suffered. Yes, they need that kind of dedicated attention. But if only this government would listen. This government doesn't listen to anyone. They don't listen to people on the ground. They don't listen to experts. What are they doing? Can you trust this kind of a regime with an economy like India? I'm afraid I can't.
Well, unfortunately, we've run out of time, but I do know that Gopal Agarwal is a very receptive guest, and he takes, a lot of the notes that come out of these shows. Gopal Agarwal, I've run out of time, but I will continue to have this conversation. Manufacturing, farming, and construction, especially the MSMEs or the smaller industries, are the biggest employers in our country. If you combine these three, construction, small and medium manufacturing, and farming, that's almost everyone. And if these three guys are in distress, then we're all in distress. So it's an appeal right now to the government to interact with the people on the ground who are running these businesses, with the farmers, with the people who understand the farmers, who understand the needs, and come up with solutions. Thanks for watching.